Greetings. I'm Don Gillingham, the Executive Director at Rockford Lutheran. And if you are watching this, you've made me so happy. And if you want to nominate this, Oscars are over, so you'll have to wait for another year until we do that. We have landed on this as a way to communicate with you, and we hope that you're happy doing that. Well, there's a bunch of questions coming up as the end of the year comes. I want you to know that next week on May 6th and 7th, we're doing a plant sale. You can see the musical of fourth grade is going to be on YouTube. Field day at RLA is coming up. The finals for our kids at the junior senior building, the last day of school. It's going to be senior events. And what's important about this is we're going to follow what the health department tells us to do, but it looks like we're absolutely going to have prom, and we're going to have a baccalaureate, and we're going to have graduation, and we're happy because our kids deserve some recognition and some closure on what they're doing. But I want you to talk to your kids and make sure that they understand that testing is coming. We've been in school. I love this mile marker because it doesn't talk about places, it talks about people. People need mile markers, and when we do our assessments, that's what they are, mile markers, telling us how far we've come and how far we get to go. So whether it's a student in first grade or a person who has bad senioritis, testing is important, and the assessments that teachers have set up matter. So stay with it until the end of the semester. You know, beyond the semester, there's this thing called the summer slide, and now it's the COVID slide, and it's the COVID summer slide. We want you to know that we do have options to help kids avoid this. We have classes, we have Accelerate Academic program. Talk to your teachers, talk to your counselors, and to find out if your student has a hole that they need to fill. I'm a little concerned because I think America is willing to accept a bad ring on the growth of the trees that we have and just say, well, for that year, people didn't learn anything. We've never accepted that. We're not going to accept that. We want you to encourage your students to continue their learning over the summer, and if it's possible, to find their weaknesses and address those during the summer. So what's next? I love the Comcast commercial that says, don't bounce back, bounce forward. That's what we're going to do. We're moving ahead. I want you to look at the ad down here in the corner, Winnebago reopening guidelines. People are registering for school next year. You should know that our belief is that we will be much less mask oriented, perhaps no mask oriented. We're going to follow what the county health department tells us, but we do anticipate that the number of people who will have been vaccinated and the progress that we will make toward herd immunity will make it possible for us to have school look much more like it did in the past. We may still have some restrictions. We can't promise that, but we're planning as if we are going to be in a typical learning environment. Our learning's not going to be necessarily what it was before because we continue to grow into the change. We want our parents to see themselves investors. And of course, you don't invest for just 9 months a year. You invest over the summer. So don't let your kid have that summer slide. Teachers as facilitators, it's our job to tell you in the next 90 days or 87 days or however many days are in summer that your kids continue to learn, and students to recognize that they own the outcome of this education, and they're going to get out of it literally what they put into it with an investment, with a return on their investment, and so they should be aware of that. We're not going to sit back. We're going to continue to grow into the change. This is how we do this. Up at the top here, we gather information on the situation that we're in, including how our kids responded to remote learning and what the benefits of flexibility are. We ask questions, we do our planning, we implement the plan, we make an evaluation of how the plan went. This is the assessment, and we continue to do this. And this circular motion is what we do both professionally and as classroom teachers and with the management practices of the school. We continue to grow as we move forward. And we're talking about this purpose really of this video for you is to talk about an administrative structure change that may affect some of you, but you'll certainly hear about and people may be talking about. We're going to make a change that's going to make us more efficient, more focused, and it's going to give the people who work here an opportunity to grow professionally and to move closer to their career goals as an understanding. So Mr. Woodkey, you see him up there smiling. He's all happy to be involved. He's a force spiritually. And we want him next year to have the time to develop our spiritual growth programs pre-K through 12. We want him to spend time at the RLA student life efforts So if the students read enough next year to put them on the roof, you can put them on the roof. I know he really enjoys getting hit with the mayonnaise and the mustard, even though he's tired of me talking about that. He's going to sing songs. He's going to sing the birthday song at chapel. He's going to continue to be there. And if you've seen the changes that have been made at the academy, you'll say, Mr. Whitke's kind of a handy guy. Matter of fact, he does work for his family at home. We want to get that level of involvement and understanding and attention to detail into both of our facilities. And so he's going to spread himself to both of our facilities. And then he's going to do some program innovation, including helping us to put together an annual giving program. We're lacking in that right now. We've been blessed with the number of gifts that we have and the activity that we've had from people. As a matter of fact, just finishing off the auction where we took in over $30,000. But we need to do more, unfortunately, as tuition costs go up, as the $15 minimum wage gets implemented, as healthcare goes up, as energy prices go up. We need to do more, and he's going to help us to do that the way he helped by creating the Accelerate program and other options that we're going to do. So his new title is going to be the Dean of Programs and Facilities. And you'll say, who's going to be in charge at the academy? Well, that's an interesting question. We are taking the principal's job description and splitting it into a number of outline markers. And Mr. Whitke will continue to be involved for spiritual development and student life. But the person who's going to be most impacted at the classroom and most impactful for teachers will be Mrs. Amanda Norman. And she's going to be the Dean of Curriculum and Instruction. She's going to work with the supervision of faculty, curriculum evaluation, data research, the learning management system dynamics. She's going to help you to understand what's going on. And when you have questions about classroom behavior, performance, when you have questions about the scope and sequence of what we're teaching and how your students should grow, she's going to be there to answer those questions for you. And she's going to be even closer to the teachers, helping them to make sure that they have goals, they have an objective for every day, they have resources that they use to teach, and they have assessments. She's going to be on the front line of how we make people understand the change. At the high school and at the junior high, Mr. Henry Robeson, you can see him there. Looks like it's his graduation from high school picture, but he's a young man on the move who's finishing his master's degree and wants a greater experience in school management program, and so he's going to be taking over our discipline program. He's going to continue his athletic department duties, and that's going to make it possible for me to do some other things. The director of development, Mrs. Schmidt, she did a great job on the auction. She's very good with special events, and the kids love her. They do things for her that they wouldn't do for anyone else, and she uses that as an investment in the future. So she does prom and she does some other student activities that kids are going to think will be important. But in the long-term future of the school, managing long-term relationships that she's built with donors and prospective donors is really where the key is. She's such a great people person. She's going to remain in her position as director of development, and she's going to continue to ramp up what she's doing in student life. So these other people who are involved, I love this one here. This is Mrs. Seavert. I haven't seen her for a year. She was younger than I thought she was as we go along. We've had great help from Mrs. Jensen, who understands what's happening with our online activities. Mrs. Carlson is right there. She's greeting students in a popular one. And this is Mrs. Crouch. That's hard to see when she was a fifth grade teacher. Mr. Quartz, everyone knows because Rockford Lutheran is his only place he's ever done ministry. But what we want you to know is that we are focused on returning a heavy intensity on Rockford Lutheran Academy's academics. We're interested in a horizontal management system that lets answers bubble up from people, both faculty members and students and parents. And we're going to implement our changes by rearranging our academic program. As executive director, I'll be spending more time at the academy, and I'll be providing the buck stops here kind of activity as we go forward. But we want people to feel comfortable that the change we've made is based on things that we know. As a matter of fact, we want to talk about not merely being changed, but being transformed. Do not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. We are renewing our minds at Rockford Lutheran. We're not falling back. We're not going back to the old days. We're moving ahead. We're moving into the change. We're growing into the change. And this reorganization is part of that process. We're going to tell people more about this If you want to come in on Monday with a Zoom link that we will send you on Friday, you can ask us questions in person about how people are going to handle the questions that come up. You can always contact my email, ddillingham@rockfordlutheran.org, or give me a call either on my cell phone or at school, and I'd be happy to answer your questions. We're confident that the changes that we're making are going to make life better for our students. They're going to make life better for our professionals, and they're going to help us facilitate the change that we've been challenging you to accept all this year. So let's close with prayer. Heavenly Father, we're grateful to you that you bring us to this time in our lives when we're open for transformation, when we are thinking about how our spirit can be changed and how our outlook into the work you would have us do grows and is different and is transformed and makes us new people in your word. Be with us today. Be with us Monday when we gather people together who have questions about the future, and help us to always know that you're with us and your promise gives us security. Amen. Thanks a lot for being with us, and reach us if you have questions. I think I am turning off this recording.